right. So just a few quick items before we go ahead and talk about chi-squared, and this will actually wrap up everything we need to talk to with regards to statistics. After this, we're going to start moving into our different units. The next one, we're going to be looking at logic, sets, and probability. So we'll be talking about union, intersection, complements, but the biggest aspect of that will be probability. So that's our next main focus. So you notice I got a couple of bullet marks up here on the board, information. Okay, so first, in this class, because it is a weighted course, or if any other of your classes are a weighted class, and you happen to have unfortunately failed the first 6 weeks, if you're in need of a waiver, okay, those are due Friday by 10 a.m. to Marcia Edwards. That's Mr. Young's secretary. So if that does apply to anybody in here, you can go get one. Now remember, you're only allowed one waiver per class per year. So if at any point you were going to go ahead and get a waiver for this class, that is the one time you could use it for this class, but you can use it for other ones. John? You get them from Marcia Edwards. You can just go see her and she'll give you that and you fill it out. Okay. And then Mr. Young will look through it and he'll either approve or deny it. And I don't know why he ever denies, but I believe he always just approves it and they send out that list. Okay, so that is by Friday at 10 a.m. This is happening this Thursday. There's going to be a tornado drill on Thursday at 9:15 in the morning. So that's going to be during what class? Second, yeah, 9:15 in the morning. Yes, ma'am. Then I guess you're okay for that particular drill. I would probably go ahead and at least talk to your second period teacher to make sure you know what would happen if that kind of emergency happened during that class. Now, I won't be seeing you during second period. Obviously, I have another class of pre-cal IS students that I'll be dealing with. But if a severe weather situation were to happen during sixth period, where do we go? We go downstairs. Now, we are going to go to the first floor of the main hallway, but where? Not the auditorium. Everybody's actually in the main hallway. So here's what we do. In a fire drill, we go right down these stairs here, go past the nurse's office, out the exit, and to the sidewalk, right? We're in a real-world situation. You would have the buses there to take us to a secure location. But in the case of a severe weather event going on, we don't want to go outside. We want to stay inside. So we're going to go along this 1200 hallway right below us, right past these computer classrooms, right down to the main hallway. So on the corner, right across from where the vending machines are, that's the art office. So in the main hallway on the first floor, right there on the art office, that's where we should be meeting up. And of course, I know it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but they want you to face the wall. It's probably going to be about 3 or 4 people deep because we're going to be trying to fit the entire school into that hallway. And we're going to need a path down the middle just in case an administrator, a teacher needs to come up and down and give you guys some instructions about what's happening. Okay? So any questions about the the tornado drill? Yes, ma'am. Oh, what, 10 minutes? Yeah, I don't think it's going to last too long. They'll get us down there. They'll see, how quickly they'll time us, and then they'll get us back. And then Mr. Anderson will probably come on the PA and say, guys, we did a great job. Hope, we'll be doing these later again, So we still have a lockdown drill at some point we're going to be looking at again. We have more fire drills. And, legally we are required to go ahead and do so many per month. So that's why, we keep doing these. Your next quiz, because this is now the second 6 weeks, we are moving along, is going to be on Thursday, and it's over linear regression. Okay, so the homework we just turned in, finding that value of R, the correlation coefficient, finding me that regression equation, the line of best fit, trend line, whatever you want to call it, that's coming up on Thursday. So hopefully I should be able to get that homework back to you tomorrow so you have another resource to look over. And I know we're still a little ways out, but not too early to go ahead and make you aware of it. 2 weeks from today, on October the 8th, that Monday, your first exam of the second 6 weeks. Okay. Yes? The quiz is over linear regression, the homework we just turned in. Okay. So basically anything between now and next Friday, these 2 weeks, is going to be fair game. So definitely expect it to have chi-squared. It'll probably have some material from sets on there, depending on how far we get, maybe some truth tables. So I'll be letting you know as we get closer to that. And that's going to be an unusual week anyway, because what's happening on the 10th? The PSAT, right? Okay. So I believe I am going to be seeing you guys that day because it is an afternoon class, but I'm not going to be seeing my morning classes. Odds are I'm going to be administering the PSAT on that particular day. So we'll kind of see what happens. I'm thinking that Monday we test. Tuesday I'll definitely pass them back. We get the opportunity to talk about them. And, we may just go ahead and move on. We'll see kind of where we're at that point. Okay, so any questions on any of these topics or items I've got up on the front board? A lot of information today. Hey. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Yes, the outline's due on Thursday. Anybody already taken a look at it? Okay, a few folks, okay. That's due on Thursday. I'm thinking it's going to be another quiz grade. If you have data that you've collected at that point, fantastic. If not, it's not going to be detrimental to it. I'm really just looking to see how are you organizing it. Like, what's your topic sentence? What are you already thinking about the body of your paper? Things like that. John, you had a question?
Are we doing IB orientation?
I don't think we are. I don't believe we're doing IB orientation. Like last year where we all met in the library for the day and we did those little groups. I don't think we're doing that this year. I think they're kind of just going along with it. So, yeah. Because normally it happens in October, right? I don't know. Hey. Yeah, there was a document. I believe I might have some copies left over here. Okay. All right, so good. Thank you, Samir. I completely forgot about that. On Thursday, we're going to be turning in those outlines. All right. So let's at least go ahead and start talking about chi-squared test for independence. Basically, I have enough time to go ahead and introduce it. Now, it's probably going to take us several days before we can actually look at one full problem because there's just so much going on with this. This is definitely, as your rubric I gave you last week pointed out, one of those upper mathematical strategies that you could go ahead and use to get more points on your IA. So if you're able to form your data or it's already from your source in what we call a contingency table, that is fantastic. Okay, so like today is probably not going to make a whole lot of sense because we're not going to be able to make it that far. Okay, but just hang in there with me. It is all going to start to click in probably a day or two. We just have to cover everything. Yes, sir. Oh, I thought you kind of just, so you don't have a question. Okay, well, let's see what we got here. This table shows the results of a sample of 400 randomly selected adults classified according to gender and regular exercise. We call this a 2x2 contingency table. So you'll notice it's divided up. Your rows are divided by gender. We have our males and females, and then my columns, they either exercise regularly or they don't exercise regularly. So the third row here and the last column are going to be your totals. So you have the exact number of males who both exercise and don't. So there's 216 total. Oh, interesting. Okay. Females, we have 98 who regularly exercise, 86 who do not, 184 total. You also have the total of those who regularly exercise, male and female, and the total male and female numbers who don't regularly exercise. The bottom right corner, okay, where your last row and your last column intersect, that's going to be the grand total of all the participants you have in your survey. So here I know that there are 400 people who were surveyed here. And the totals, everything should match up. 216 plus 184 will give you the 400. 208 plus 192 should give you the 400 as well. Okay. So it says we may be interested in how the variables gender and regular exercise are related. The variables may be dependent. For example, females may be more likely to exercise regularly than males. Alternatively, the variables may be independent, which means the gender of a person has no effect on whether they exercise regularly. So the chi-squared, and here's the notation we use, okay, test is used to determine whether two variables from the same sample are independent. Now, when we say independent or dependent, okay, what we're trying to hypothesize here, is there any relationship or connection between the quantities that you're comparing? Okay. Now, the good news is this test will go ahead and give you an indication of whether that's so or not. It'll go ahead and say, yes, there's some kind of association, or no, there is not a type of association. Now, here's the bad news about that. While it might indicate that there is or is not a relationship, if there is a relationship, it will not tell you what the nature of the relationship is. It'll just say one simply exists, and it'll be up to you to go ahead and infer from your data what specifically that relationship is. But this could be very, very useful in your IA, because it could go right along with whatever your topic is. If you're trying to say that there's some kind of connection between these two sets, and you go ahead and perform a chi-squared test, and it shows that there is an association, you could argue that your point is the connection that the two have. Does that make sense? Okay. So basically, chi-squared is simply going to tell you yes or no if there's a relationship, but it doesn't tell you what that relationship is. Spencer?
So, like, for the IA, if you use the correlation coefficient to show that they correlate, and you do a chi-square test to show that there's a relationship,
Yes.
does that mean that there's a causation?
There very well could be.
Okay.
And you could argue that depending on this, because it would almost be like you're supplementing your correlation coefficient analysis with this. So you can go ahead and say, based on that, I could say definitively this is the case or not. Yeah, so that's a really good point. In fact, a lot of people last year in their IAs, the two higher analysis strategies they focused on were the correlation coefficient and the chi-squared. But it's difficult sometimes. You just want to be able to put it in one of these contingency tables. And is 2 by 2 the only size you can have? No, absolutely not. And see, here we know we have 3 rows and 3 columns, but we're calling it a 2 by 2 because, see, we've got 2 genders, the male and female, and then we've got 2 kinds of exercise habits. So the row and the column totals, you don't include those when describing the dimensions of what your matrix would be. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So how would it that it's weight?
Oh, that's what we're going to start to talk about, because there's a whole analysis that goes through this. Okay. So I'm glad you asked. Let's go ahead and see how far we can get. I got a few more minutes at least. Okay, now to test whether gender and regular exercise are independent, we first consider only the sum values of the contingency table. We then calculate the values we would expect to obtain if the variables were independent. Now, here's what this is. If you go back to this original table, I want another baby hitting the ground. I don't know if my heart can take it. Okay. Anyways, the original data that you go ahead and collect and put in a contingency table, this is what we call your observed data. If this will write, there we go. This is what we call your observed data. Now, using that, we want to go ahead and create a table we called the expected data, the expected frequency table. Okay, and that's what this is referring to. That's why I went ahead and highlighted or went ahead and boxed in expected. So this right down here tells you how to go ahead and calculate all these values. So you'll notice, okay, the values of males who exercise and don't, females who exercise and don't, those are gone. It's simply the totals that you want to go ahead and focus on. Like, let's say I want to know the expected value for males who exercise regularly. Well, what you want to do is take the total of that column, the total of that row. You're going to multiply those together, 208 times 216, and then you're going to divide it by the total number of participants in your study. So in this case, I'm going to divide by 400, and that's what it's talking about down here. So on the calculator, 208 times 216, let's see here, 208 times 216. Now I'm going to divide that by 400. So 112.32. Okay. So that's where we get this number right here, 112.32. Okay. That's what we would expect to see if there was a relationship between my data, if we were to do further analysis. Okay. This is the expected values. So let's say I want to go ahead and find what's the expected value for males who don't exercise regularly. Okay, so for whatever cell I'm looking at, I'm going to take that column total, I'm going to multiply it by the row total, and then do what? Divide by the total number of participants. Okay, so 192 times 216. So I'm going to come on over here. 100 and, oh, and it's not letting me do that. It's saying green. 192. Okay, so 192 times 216. Okay, and then I'm going to divide that by the total number of people in the study. So 103.68. Okay. Is everybody seeing where I'm getting these numbers from? Okay. So 103.68. And you know, one of the things we've been talking about recently is how this information could be asked of you, say, on one of the paper exams. Well, if they want you to perform a chi-squared test, they have to provide you certain information, and you're going to use technology. I mean, doing it by hand is not a difficult process, but they're not going to have you do that on a paper exam. In fact, what they would do more than likely is provide you a table, some problems that I've seen in the past, and I'll go ahead and start sharing with you at some point, a table that's not completely filled in. So you'll fill in the rest of the table, you know, based on the totals that are already existing. But then they could very well ask you something specific. Like if this were a table given to you on an exam, they could say, okay, what would be the expected value for females who regularly exercise? Okay. Well, we know we're looking for an expected value, so what would I do here? There you go. Whatever column and row intersects right there, that column total and that row total, I'm going to multiply those together and then divide by what? Divide by 400. Now remember, different studies, you're going to have a different total there because you're comparing all kinds of different things. So can anybody tell me what that is? I got 95.68. That's exactly right. 95.68. Perfect. And what if I want to know the expected value for the number of females who don't exercise regularly? 192 times 184 divided by 400. What would I get? 88.32 is exactly what I got. Now, it's using these values here, the expected values. It's part of how we would go ahead and determine what the chi-squared test is. Okay, so there's more to go, but how are we doing so far? Not bad, right? So at least for a first day, I think we got a pretty decent introduction. Hello. Hey. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop right there, and then tomorrow, you know, we'll go ahead and continue to practice this, and I'll catch up to folks who are not here. Hopefully they'll show up. But within the time remaining, I know you guys are going to be super excited about this. Okay, because it is the second 6 weeks, we were asked, all core teachers, to go ahead sometime this week, deadline Friday, to cover the beginning of the year expectations. Yay! Okay, so that's why I just saved it to the end. Let's go ahead and run through it. It's just something we have to do. You guys have been doing a great job for me the first 6 weeks. You know, thank you. Keep it up. If you have questions, let me know. But let me go ahead and run through this very quickly. So our goal is to create a school that's safe, friendly, and where students learn at high levels. Okay, we always want to be wearing our Spurs, self-esteem, very enthusiastic right there. Positive attitude, unity, respect, support. Okay, they can impact your academics, relationships, and your school. Okay, ways that wearing our Spurs keeps us safe, friendly, and learning at school. Follow staff directions. Be kind to others. You know, take care of your school and your classroom. We want to represent LHS in the best positive light we can. Only bring to school what you need for learning. Use technology for assignments. Keep yourself and others safe. So what might happen if you don't wear your Spurs? Okay, if you don't follow expectations or meet those expectations, you know, we have, unfortunately, consequences to go with those, and it depends on the number of times this has happened and what the offense is. Okay, but I'm not going to sit there and read those to you. What happens if you get caught wearing your Spurs? Tickets are passed out to redeem a prize. Have they started doing that yet?
Apparently they have.
So they have. Okay, so the vast majority are not seeing this. Okay. The rest of these, coupons for a snack, special privileges, pocket points, those are things that can be done in the classroom. And, I'll be honest, the first 6 weeks went by very quickly. We were all very busy. I wasn't even really thinking about anything like that. So I will try to do a better job of giving some kind of, incentive, for what we do in here. I mean, math is its own incentive, right? Of course, of course. Here are our principles by Alpha. Bless you. Okay. With Mr. Young, of course, being our building principal. I don't think anybody's having any issues with the schedule. The first couple of weeks, it was rocky during fifth period, knowing which bells were to the tardy bell and passing period, things like that. But everybody's okay now, right? Okay, we're good. Okay, ID badges. This really is just a safety and a security measure, because unfortunately we do have people who just kind of wander in the building off the street, and we just need to make sure whoever's on campus has a reason for being here. Okay, I mean, your safety is very important to us. That's why when I'm standing out in the hallway, hey, how you doing? You got your badge? Hey, you got your badge? It's just one of those things. Okay. If you do forget your badge, you can replace it for $2. That's a sticker. The replacement's $5. Okay, get that in the main office before school. Cell phone policies. This will come up in just a second. You see the posters around occasionally. They're still there, which has electronics free zone, but we all know at this point we've kind of unfortunately given up on that. As long as you have one ear open so you can still hear. I will say today I've come across 4 people who I've been like, I've had to tap on their shoulder to get their attention. Because if something happens, like say there's a lockdown and we need to get students into classrooms quickly, like, hey, get in the classroom, let's go. And they're just bebopping to what they're listening to in their brain, So keep one out, so just in case, something's going on, you can hear. As far as in here, for the most part, you guys are doing great with the cell phones. We keeping them off the desk, not using them during class, and I appreciate that, so thank you very much. Harassment and bullying. LISD and Lubbock High School prohibits bullying. Cyberbullying is defined by state law. There's our definition. The only thing I want to say about this, guys, if you or someone you know is a victim of this, please speak out. If maybe the person doesn't want to say anything, then be the voice for that person. Find an adult that you trust, a teacher, an administrator, somebody. Because if nobody knows about the problem, nothing can be done to help that individual. Or, if you just want to call and be anonymous. Okay, there's a trust line here. Sometimes it helps just to vent, kind of get things off your shoulders. Okay, 806-370-3558. Okay, you've probably seen these around campus in the past week or two. I've got mine right there on the wall before you leave. It's very colorful, so I'm hoping it kind of catches your eye when you walk out. But it's our Be Smart Online and Using Digital Tools reference. So safe, meeting, accepting, reliable, tell. Be smart when going online. I'll be safe by not sharing my personal information with anyone online, such as name, school name, phone number, home address, and or photos. Meeting, I will be careful and not meet face-to-face with people I've encountered online because this can be dangerous. And please don't do that. If for whatever reason you do feel it's warranted to meet an individual who you've only met online, at the very least, make sure it's a very public place with a lot of people. Don't meet somewhere where there's not a lot of people. Just, be smart about it. Accepting, I will check to see who is sending emails, instant messages, links, and pictures before clicking on or opening anything sent to me because I realize it can contain viruses or inappropriate messages. Okay, reliable, I will check information before believing things posted online to make sure it is factual because that's true, right? I mean, there's nothing false posted on the internet, right? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, and tell. I will tell someone I trust if anyone makes me feel uncomfortable or if someone I know is being bullied online. Here's what I like to say about this. They're referring to this nowadays as the digital tattoo. Once something has been uploaded, you may remove it from your own social media system, whatever, but once it's been placed on the internet, it's been shared, it's been passed around, it's virtually impossible to get it back. And as you grow up, these things can come back to affect you later in life. And I'm not saying, I want you to have fun with your friends. I want you to be able to take pictures, share them and everything, but just, be smart about it, because a lot of large companies nowadays, they have divisions set up who specifically will go back into a person's history, social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and they're looking for anything that's going to pop up that could potentially, cost you the job, cost you a promotion, and it happens a lot. I mean, how regular is it nowadays, especially in the culture we have, that someone very well known or in the business community, something they said 10, 20 years ago comes up and their career is destroyed? Okay, so it will come back. It does stay out there forever. Building procedures, the hallway expectations. We kind of talked about the electronics free zone. Walk and talk. PDA, what's that stand for? Public displays of affection. I know you're young and in love, but there's a time and a place for it. We don't want to see that. We don't need to talk about that. Library expectations. Again, please be wearing your ID badge to get in there. Off-campus expectations, and these more deal with if you're going to some kind of school event, maybe a football game, things like that. You want to represent LHS in the best light. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it says off campus and at all HS schools. Does that also mean dress code for like football games? Or does dress code not matter?
I think it does. Doesn't dress code still apply if you go to a school event? Well, see, I haven't heard anything about the dress code being fully enforced at a school event. The only thing students are telling me about today is apparently there was a previous game where a beach volleyball or something was taken. People were doing like a beach ball around in the stands, and they came up and grabbed it. That, I don't know. That's the only thing that's been brought up today. But what some other people here are saying is they still look, but they don't care as much, I guess. Okay. Now, I'm not saying, wear something very flashy and then not expect for someone to say, hey, what's going on? Yeah. But, okay. All right, there we go. Perfect timing. We have less than 2 minutes. Are there any questions? Anything we want to talk about? Okay. Thank you very much, guys. If you'll get my calculators back over on the wall. I just need to see those calculators back in the charging stations before I let you go.